Good morning, folks. Good afternoon and good evening. I took a picture of a screenshot today. It's important. Somebody said this out loud, right? And he's probably scared right now. Don't be scared, brother. You got this. His light is your shield. Promise. Um, Robert Griffin III, he got fired from ESPN, Disney, right? And he posted on X, he posted, "Nothing in this world is worth selling your soul for." That's not hyperbole. He's serious. If you get a lead enough, they make you buy into selling your soul. But, it's important that everybody remembers you get to make a new decision today. There's no such thing. You can lie to him. He lies to you. You don't really sell your soul. Making the decision to go to the light side, that's the way to go. God created the devil too, right? The devil's got a job to do in this universe. Tempt the fuck out of you. Make the journey harder. Every step of the way, right? What does that look like? Well, trauma. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of trauma. Till you learn your lesson. And the more stubborn you are, the harder the lessons are. The people doing it think they're abusing you. But they're just doing the devil's work. It's kind of silly, but that's what happens. So, where's all the corruption at? Let's talk about it. I keep saying it. It's important. Corruption gets infinitely worse over time. Not infinitely. There's a finite number there. But 80% of your population is going to be, at least, just in life. How many people live happy lives? Happy. Like you see them and you think, man, that person's really happy. That's probably only 20%. In my world, data analytics 80-20 rule applies to everything. And I mean everything. And I had someone say that to me. And I remember it. So it sticks out. 80-20 rule applies to everything. Your memories are only there to teach you lessons. That's it. That's it. There's no anger in them. There's no fear. There's no guilt. There's no resentment. I mean, they're lessons. So you're mad at Jimmy for doing something to you back in the day? I wouldn't be. It doesn't do you any good. That's what leads to the corruption. The more fear, the more anger, the more guilt, the more resentment you get, the more likely you are to take the deal. It's ugly, right? Robert Griffin III, he was asked to take the deal. But I got to assume that like someone like Pat McAfee, who gets so much airtime, did take the deal. But he spreads so much hope and positivity and makes everyone laugh so much. I want to tell you, brother, you can always go back. They can cancel you. They can kind of fuck with you. But I got your back. Top-notch businessman. When this use different currency than the US dollar, then they can't control you. It's easy. Well, you got to make sure it's not. That's why they're so against Bitcoin and Dogecoin. That's how they control us. Credit. If you want to look at how the corruption works, they allow you to make as much money as you'll give back. I wouldn't spend a lot of money, so in the algorithms, they link me with someone that would. And plus, I invested in Tesla in 2013, so they had to be aggressive about it. It's just the darkness. It's not. You gotta understand, the devil works through people that have fear, anger, guilt, and resentment. The corruption. The boomers are doing it. For real. Watch Dateline. They're fighting over grandkids. That's what all that shit's about. But what organizations have been around the longest? What groups have been around the longest? Let's talk about it. Men versus women. Most corrupt one there is. And the women are way smarter than us men, so be careful with that. And then you got corruption in religion. The longer the religion been around in the Western civilization, the more corrupt it is, because it's driven by money. Why would a church have $1 trillion country? It doesn't make any sense. Come on. All that money, all that shit, that's like reverence to money and all that shit. It's in the first part of the Bible, right? You don't have reverence to all that shit. It's stupid. Man versus women. Religion. Black versus white. America versus the world. The world versus America. The UK versus the UK. It's the 80-20 rule. The longer they've been around, the more corruption there is. Just because of demographics. 80%, 20%. The next year, 80%, 20%. The next year, 80%, 20%. Right? Over time, the 20% becomes a real small number. And the 80% becomes a real big number. And the longer it goes on, the more trouble we're causing ourselves as a human race. Again, the devil was created by God too. It's just a temptation. I've been tempted my whole life. You get baited by corruption to see if you want to join. And it's not presented that way, It's not how it goes. But the longer something's been around, the more corrupt it is. This is what it is. The thing that's been around the longest, I would say, is corporate. Not corporate America, just corporate. Building trade organizations. That's what, 80-20 rule. Over time, it just becomes incredibly dark at the top. Because it all filters, the darkness filters to the top, because that's where the greed is the most. Corruption, school system. I had to witness this firsthand. I had a school employee tell my kid that if his mother was there, he would bag him. Yeah. And then I had teachers bullying my kid, saying he didn't have an allergic reaction, wasn't in the hospital when he had a headache in class. And then I had a principal tell me that he took care of it, but he's part of it. And then the school board's part of it. Corruption. Here's some weird evidence. I think Judge Judy's woke as heck. And she worked in the child court system, which could be the most corrupt part there is, because they need to play games with the kids. But she got ushered out of there to go be on TV and teach accountability to the world, which is awesome. Thank you. But she had to be the biggest roadblock in the New York school system, because it would appear she doesn't play games about this shit. And we need a lot more of those. But they'll corrupt people. They'll move them out of where they're at to give them all a bunch of money so that they're not spreading light where it needs to be spread. I mean, no offense to anybody when I speak. Just trying to identify things out in the world so you guys can see it. Because I have perspective in my own life. I promise you, I can see it all. First person perspective, right? I promise you the FBI is corrupt. I promise you the front of the court gets put in a pinch by big bribery all the time. All the time. And then you have civil servant people working in there not making enough money, which is part of the system. They keep their money down so that the money means more to them. And then the guilt and shame about taking the money, and you do things for them because they tell you to. And then they train lawyers. Like at birth, they're trained to be the person that's going to be the nastiest piece of work in the world. To go steal kids from good parents. With the help of the creditors and corporate and everything, just to squash you, to take everything from you. It's all possible. I promise. I'm at 11 minutes. You can stand up today. And the important part be no fear, no anger, no guilt, and no resentment. And then you don't have to worry about being on a Dateline episode that's about your parents stealing your kids from their parents. Like, you know, the kids in the boomer society is worth a lot of money. Gen Zers, please don't fall into their traps. Avoid it. I love that you guys are putting your phones down. I love that you guys are buying flip phones. I love that J.J. McCarthy sits in Indian style at the goalposts before football games. I love that Kyrie Irving talks about loving others and being woke. But then you understand, we're all not perfect, so we had a tough series in Boston. You got them next year, brother, for sure. The athletes are the part of the corruption, but they don't mean it. Stand up. Please. Stand up. We got this.